All right, thanks everybody, and welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the breakout sessions and got something out of them. We're going to finish here with something sweet for you today. You know, sometimes a company can get a lift from the most unexpected of places, and that's what happened recently to our next guest, the founder and chief creative officer of Jeni's Splendid Ice Cream of Columbus, Ohio. And let me tell you, it is pretty splendid. Turns out Joe Biden loves the stuff. He tweeted that it was part of his pregame preparation for his debate a couple of weeks ago with President Trump. Something sweet, I suppose, before the evening went rather sour. Let's find out how a woman who loves artisanal ice creams, has a knack for coming up with flavors like Middle West whiskey and Fluffernutter Pie, built a dessert mini empire. She's now got more than 40 franchises or outlets around the country and an online presence to match. Please welcome Jeni Britton Bauer, founder and chief creative officer of Jeni's Splendid Ice Creams. Welcome. It is great to have you with us, Jeni.
I'm so happy to be here with you.
When did you find out that Joe Biden was a fan?
Oh, years ago. He's really become kind of a friend, a pal in ice cream. And I'm sure that he has many more ice cream makers across the country who feel the same way about him. But he first came in maybe in 2012. And I've gotten to know him over the years since. And, yeah, we just love ice cream.
Bonded over ice cream. That's a nice way to go. And I gather that his campaign bought a large amount of ice cream to give as commemoratives or gifts to donors. Is that correct?
Yeah, and what an awesome gift that is, this sort of ice cream from the heartland made in fellowship directly with makers, growers, and producers. It's been a lot of fun to sort of, I guess, ship our ice cream all over the country in celebration of that.
Yeah, and obviously Ohio is a key state for him, so he should be backing good Ohio companies like yours. Let's go way back and tell us sort of the origins of your story. You started dabbling in special artisanal ice creams at a very young age. What gave you the bug to do it, and what made you think you could?
Well, I did. I mean, I grew up in the Midwest, really. I'm in Columbus. I've been in Columbus since I was 12, but I grew up in Peoria, Illinois before then, and ice cream here is just something that you do on the weekends, especially, of course, in spring and summer, but really all throughout the year. If it's not summer and you're out at a shop, then you're eating it literally before bed. So ice cream is really an important part of our culture here and actually all across America. So I've always really loved ice cream and knew that my first job would be at an ice cream shop, which it was when I was 15. And then by the time I was 22, I actually walked out of art class at Ohio State University because I had this idea that ice cream could be more interesting and better, and that I could actually tell stories. And so I went and started a little shop in our indoor farmers market, public market here in the middle of Columbus. That was in 1996, and it was my first business. And I just started from there.
And were you hand making your own ice cream using product or inputs from some of those very same farmers you were working alongside in the farmers market?
Yes, that was the whole sort of the whole reason to exist for my company. And it is still the way that we do things now, even with some of the same farmers that we worked with all the way back then. So that sort of, it's not necessarily about just, local. It is, but it's more about people for us. It's people. When we have a relationship with the people and their teams that are making or producing whatever it is, whether it's strawberries or whiskey or growing vanilla beans for us all the way across the world, we like to, if we can, we like to get close to them and know where actually your money is going when you give it to us.
There was a moment, as there are for most entrepreneurs, which are kind of those decision points where you have some setbacks and you either fold up, as you did for a little while, or you move and push forward, as some do. Tell us about that. I gather that you kind of had to give up your dream in the year 2000 before resuming a couple of years later. What happened there in the year 2000 that caused you to stop doing what you had been doing?
Well, I wasn't doing very well as a business. There were a lot of bright spots. But the way that I like to think about it was, and I was learning, but the way that I like to think about it is that I had come from art school. And so I was sort of still thinking like an artist. I was thinking that I can make whatever flavors I want and everyone's just going to be super excited about them. And that's really not the way it works. It also doesn't work that way in art, but I hadn't learned that yet. So once I closed and I started thinking about what brings me back to a business, whenever I go to any business, I realized that it's consistency and it's whatever I had the last time I was there. It's that sort of love, that what I call craveable reason to return. And so I knew what flavors people loved. And at Scream Ice Cream, which was my first shop, I didn't always have them because I was kind of on this mission to evolve and change constantly. So at Jeni's, when we opened Jeni's 2 years later, that would be in 2002, back in the North Market, I just committed to having those flavors that I knew people loved, like salty caramel and wild berry lavender and our darkest chocolate, and always have those in stock no matter what. And then I would also be able to do new seasonal flavors depending on whatever whim I was on, whether it was seasonal, ingredient driven, or pop culture driven.
Where did you get your ideas for the flavors? I mean, the basics are chocolate, and then there was sort of the sea salt caramel, and there are seasonal flavors. I'm sure you probably have a peach. I know you have a pumpkin, which I tasted just the other night. It's fantastic, by the way. Where do you get your ideas?
Well, they come from all over. Many of those flavors you just mentioned, actually, we get inspiration from our growers. So we have a buttercup pumpkin that the same farm has grown for us for years. And before that, we had gone from different kinds of pumpkins until we settled on this very sweet, beautiful pumpkin. And so a lot of times it's ingredient driven, and then we go from there. Sometimes it's pop culture. That's really fun. Like we just did a collaboration with Tyler, the Creator, and it was so beautiful and just delicious. But it really can come from anywhere. History is another place that I draw a lot of inspiration, and of course, travel and people, just talking to people.
So let's talk about the journey from your first shop there, Jeni's Splendid. I guess that was the name of it, when you came back and you decided we're going to focus on flavors that we know people love and we're always going to have them in stock. And take us through then the scaling of your business, because you're not only in a retail business, you're in a manufacturing business as well. The product has to be manufactured to exacting standards, then it has to be packaged, delivered to your shop, which then became shops. How did you pull it all together and make it work, first at that initial location, and then how did you expand and scale it out?
Well, in the earlier days, it's kind of interesting because ice cream is actually harder than it seems to do on a small scale. There are obviously many issues as you grow. For instance, you can easily buy a pallet of strawberries from your farmer's market outside and then cut each one of those and make them into ice cream in the market, just on site. When you scale up, now you're talking about 6,000 or 8,000 of those little strawberries, and how do you do that? But in other ways, it's actually easier. Like if we want to go direct to the dairies, for instance, and be able to choose and have access to dairy ingredients that we think are the most delicious and best for the environment, it's actually better if we're a little bit bigger. Other ingredients like vanilla, it's the same. If we want to get kind of more direct in the vanilla, you really have to have that volume. And so there are many ways that we can actually get better as we grow. And we've found that everything from ingredients to our equipment has actually helped us make better ice creams as we grow. We have a mission actually to make better ice creams. And for us, this idea of better is better than best, because best is sort of linked to what someone else has already done, versus better, which is just about getting better every day. And so I feel like in a way that mission has kept us on sort of focused on that.
So tell me, did you, I don't mean to bog down here on the manufacturing side of it, but it is fascinating to me. As you started to sell more units, where did you have it manufactured? Was it at a dairy you contracted with and you inspected and you liked them, or did you build your own plant?
Both. We have our own production plant where we can make anything that somebody else can't do better, is the way that we like to say it. So whether it's burning or it's really caramelizing our sugar over open flame in our kitchen to get it to the right toast level, or making a strawberry sauce or a cake or chocolate or any ingredient we need, praline or marshmallows. And then we work directly with a 5th-generation dairy farm. So the grass pastured milk comes directly to them, and within 48 hours, it's made into ice cream.
So you have both your own factories and you have contractors with whom you work, and you scaled up gradually that way. Where did the capital come from? So many small businesses have a struggle raising capital. How did you do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was always a struggle for us as well. We were with the SBA for years and years in our local banks, and that was awesome. That was really great. I mean, of course, you have to live on a shoestring and really like stretch every dollar, but you learn. And that is that is what business is about. I mean, it's about creativity and efficiency. And so you learn to do that when you're taking out loans and paying them back. But what was great is that we got to hold on to that equity so that when the banks decided, like, you're growing too fast for us, then, and we switched to our private equity partners, we were ready for that transition. And that was in about 2016.
So how did you learn all that, dealing with the SBA, with commercial lenders, and now private equity? I mean, you had a learning curve personally, art student.
That's true, and I've always thought that even from the beginning that it was going to be a fellowship here at Jeni's, and so this idea, and it comes from Tolkien. It's the Fellowship of the Ring. It's the idea that everyone brings their awesomeness in, their skills in, and together we make something greater than the sum of its parts. And so my goal was always to earn my place at the fellowship, but also to earn the other people on that fellowship. And so whether it's our CEO or our chief finance officer or the chief commercial officer now, those people have helped me learn as I go and keep us as an organization, as a community, safe.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to go to a poll for the audience to get to participate here, and we're going to put up a couple of flavors here and see which ones sort of stick best with our audience. So there's the poll button on the right of your screen. Here are some of the flavors that are available to you through Jeni's: cold brew with coconut cream, green mint chip, wild berry lavender, skillet cinnamon roll. I think that would get my vote. And salted peanut butter chocolate fleck. That was the one that arrived at my home thanks to you the other night. It is gone now, Jeni. Totally gone. I had a little, my wife had a lot, I had more. It was all very good. So tell me, for every flavor that you invent, how many do you reject because they just don't work?
Well, let's see. Not as many as you might think. I mean, it might be for every one that actually gets to our shops and gets to a pint, there might be 2 or 3. So not nothing, but not a ton anymore. What happens is that we usually start with a wider funnel, and we have a lot of flavor ideas, but only a few of them can actually make it through the whole process. And so by the end, we might start with 15. By the end, we may have 5 flavors at the end that actually make it through.
And are you the ultimate decider?
Well, yes, but I like input from a few very well-trained and people that I trust. So we have 3 or 4 people, and that is about it on our team who can sort of make those decisions. What's interesting also about my company, I think, is that team is actually also very involved in the art and design and creative. So we're R&D, art and design and creative. So everything that you read or that you experience in our world, in our realm, whether it's our pint container or the photography in our stores or what the people in the stores are saying to you, was actually written by the team who created the ice cream. And there's really about a total of 8 of us. And so some of us work more in the R&D, some work more in the creative department. But I think that that's important for a company to be that sort of tight.
Was there a point, is there an anecdote that you could share with our participants today where you really questioned whether you could push through? Obviously, when you shut there in the year 2000 and then came back 2 years later, that was one of those existential moments. But as you have grown from one location to, what is it now, 40, 45?
Yeah, 45.
Has there been a moment where you said, I just can't do this, I'm burned out, or the challenge is too great, Tell us about a moment where you really questioned your mission.
Gosh, I don't know that I've ever questioned our mission. I mean, there have been times where I thought it was over. I mean, we had a recall in 2015 that was almost game ending for us, and luckily we prevented any outbreak and acted swiftly and got that under control. But I mean, these are hard things that you just don't expect. You know, you do everything to prevent, and you don't expect them coming. That was tough, of course, in the beginning of COVID this year. You know, when we didn't know what was going to happen, when we didn't know, you know, when we couldn't make a vision for the future. How can we solve this if we don't know how our leaders are solving this? That's really hard for a business to start to make projections and to actually operate. So there were some really tough times this year.
So the recall was a moment, was related to food safety. Do I understand correctly? And something that had gotten into the supply chain somehow?
Yes, it was, and we found it and took care of it. But that was, you know, a tough time, very tough for the whole team.
Yeah, it would be a time where you would really have to hunker down and do the best you could. So let's talk about how you have taken your little tiny shop there in Columbus, Ohio, and built it into 45 shops or so around the country, everywhere from LA to Atlanta and beyond. And you've also got a thriving mail order business that you've had to build. As you have grown, what have the challenges been for you and your team of managers as you've expanded and you've had to maintain quality, keep thrilling customers with every new opening? Are these franchise shops or wholly owned? Tell us a little bit about that journey of expansion, both on the retail side and on the mail order side, and how you did it.
Well, we in the retail side, it's interesting because it involves a lot of people. You know, if we have 50 stores and then we have a whole team in each one of those stores. So it's, you know, we think of our company like a community. Well, the word company means community. It means you're not alone. And so we operate as a community. And it's really important that people in our company feel cared for, and also I think feel a sense of pride at what we are doing as a company. So it's not just us having this mission or having values that we make known. It's not about that. What it's about is actually living up to those every day and demonstrating those and being the standard of those, so that everybody who's in our company is proud of that, proud to be a part of this fellowship. And you can feel that over the counter when you come into one of our stores. You just can feel it. It's a pride that we all kind of share because we're out here doing it, and we're just real people. And we operate as a relatively small company. Then on e-com and in our grocery channel, we are trying to get that across too, just through the screen or, you know, through our pint packaging, that ethos that we have here, that we share here, that, you know, the things that sort of make us, our values are what unite us as a company, these values of creativity and community and working together and collaboration. And so we try to get that across in every way we possibly can.
Couple of quick questions. Are your outlets franchised or wholly owned, or a little of each?
No, they're all ours, and we felt that was important because it's not easy to do, actually, and so we keep them kind of close to us.
And what you mentioned the grocery chain. What stores are you in around the country? And obviously that has its own challenges.
It sure does, but it's been a lot of fun as well. They're all just so different, each one of these channels. We're in Publix, we're in Whole Foods across the country, and just a lot of really great grocers. Some Kroger, Giant Eagle. It depends on your region, but you can find that on our website at jennies.com.
Yeah. All right. Good. A couple of final questions, if I might. You're now at a run rate of what, about 50 million a year? Is that right in revenues? I understand that sometimes private companies don't like to share that information, but is that close?
I'll tell you we're a little bit more than that, but yeah, close.
All right, that's fair enough. That's good. And you have the distinction, and I have to say, in many things you do get what you pay for. You know, I remember when I think it was Vail topped the $100 lift ticket for a day of skiing. I know when Apple or Samsung went above $1,000 for a cell phone. your ice cream sells for what? About $10 a pint?
It depends on where you're getting it and also what the flavor is. In grocery, we've created a lot of efficiencies, both with our partners and in how we're producing it. So in most of in grocery, we're at about $7.99, still on a higher end for grocery, but what you get is this sort of beautiful ice cream made with fellowship. And then in our stores and some other places, because we just there are flavors that we just take a little more time doing, it can be $10 or even $12. Just depends on kind of the flavor and where you're getting it.
What's next? As I asked my wife to bring me over a pint. Joe, are you here? Love? She's going to bring me a pint. You just bring whatever you want and a spoon. Join me, Jeni. You got one there?
I do, but it's
What's
empty.
Next for you?
No fair.
Oh, mine will not be empty. Mine will not be empty.
Gosh.
What are you going to do next?
Well, I'm excited for holiday. That's going to be, our flavors are just coming in. They're beautiful. We have a wonderful collaboration with Shandong Winery with sparkling wine. And then hopefully opening a few more stores next year in 2021. I'm really excited about that.
Let's see.
Which flavor you have?
We have our poll results here as I dig into a little bit of something called Middle West Whiskey and Pecans. Do we have our poll results of which, can we show? Salted peanut butter with the chocolate flecks. My wife is saying yes, yes, yes.
I'm just saying.
She loved it the other night. I'm going to try the whiskey and pecans here.
Now that's a friend of ours here, right down the street, who distills that whiskey for us.
That's pretty good, man. That's very good. What is your biggest selling flavor?
Oh, it's our brown butter almond brittle. It was inspired by Roald Dahl and a flavor that he grew up with. And he wrote about it as an adult. And then I made an ice cream after reading his writing about it.
All right. Jeni, I want to thank you for lunch.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for lunch. This is really fun.
Ice cream and whiskey is a great lunch.
Ice cream goes everywhere. My favorite dessert of all time. Jeni, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it.
Have a great day.
All right, I'm going to put the spoon right in here. Darling, thank you very much. Joe will finish it. All right, Jeni, thank you very much. And thanks to all of our participants and all of our speakers today. And a very special thank you to our sponsors. Of course, we couldn't do it without you. And those sponsors are Accenture, City National Bank, and Splunk.